NYC. INet NYC stands for International Networking in New York City, and it's a non-profit organization founded in 2014 with a major mission to support and professional development and help community building and networking addressed to international scientists in training in STEM in the New York City area. We support our mission by the organization of career development events, by networking and social events, and sharing research opportunities inside and outside the US, as well as organizing important info sessions about topics such as immigration or taxes. Our network is composed by several board members who are scientists working in research institutions in the New York area, and we reach a network of more than 100 people who are mostly foreign scientists in training in STEM. Of course, we want to grow more, so please join us, and you can become a member or even become more involved and apply for open position on our board. Actually, we have some openings right now, so you can check them out and reach to us. You can find any information on our website, inetnyc.com, and reach out to us for any information you may need at this email address. We are also very active on several social media, so check out our LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages, and also our new YouTube channel where you will find recordings, for example, of our past events. Talking about events, our upcoming events will be in March. Will actually be a special event dedicated to women and girls in science that will last the whole month of March, where we will be posting on our social media every day an interview of a woman or girl in science who will talk about her achievement and how it is to be a woman in science, so don't miss this event. And in April 7th, we have another one about computational science on a discussion panel format. With that, I would like to acknowledge, of course, the INet co-founders, Ariola and Mike, our advisory board, and all the sponsors and partners that are helping in the organization of our events and are supporting us. Now, let me stop sharing the screen so that we can get started with the event of today. I will introduce our panelists, starting from Dr. Linda Molla, Senior Project Associate at Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. So hi, Linda, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Hi, Marta. Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Stephanie Morris, Program Director at the National Human Genome Research Institute. Hi, Stephanie, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for the invitation. Hello, everyone.
Next, Dr. Shaila Shorter, Scientific Program Manager at the Lupus Research Alliance. Hi, Shaila, and thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
And Dr. Federica Valsecchi, Immunotherapy Project Manager at MSK. Hi, Federica, and thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the invitation.
And again, thank you to all our attendees for participating to this event. We really hope you will enjoy it. And now I will just pass the mic to our moderators, Rinki and Zafar, who will moderate the event of today. And starting from Rinki, we'll take the first question. And I just wanted to remind to our attendees to please put your question on the chat box below, and we will take care of them. And I hope you will enjoy this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marta, for this nice introduction. We are glad you all are here today with us. With that, I would like to start our Q&A session. To start with, I would like to ask all our panelists to give a brief introduction about your background, current role, and job duties. Maybe we can start with Linda.
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone. So my name is Linda, and first of all, I'd like to thank the organizers. I think it's a lot of work to put these events together with their full schedules of lab work, and I think it's a lot of effort. And I want to congratulate them on putting the panel together and everything. And I also want to thank all the participants for making time to attend this event. I think it's great. It's a great way to sort of get exposure to different things career-wise that exist out there. So in terms of my background, so I was trained as a scientist, did my undergraduate at Hunter College at City University of New York. Following that, I did a PhD at Rockefeller University in molecular biology. And I also did a very short postdoc. It was about 6 months in the same lab. So maybe that doesn't count as a postdoc, but the PhD was very, very long. Following that, I transitioned. I was doing a couple of small roles, sort of like internships in project management. And that was during the time this was also during the time that I was interviewing for very diverse roles. And after 6 months of finishing the postdoc, I started my role where I'm currently at Regeneron. So my title is Senior Project Associate. Usually the title doesn't tell you much, but what that practically means is that you are a scientific project manager, right? So you are a liaison between, at least, you know, within my group, within the group at Regeneron where I work, you are a liaison between different scientific teams. So the role is to drive them towards specific goals, right? You are trying to help them and facilitate in driving the projects from the very early research stage, right? When the project starts in the lab, towards the stage where an IND is filed. IND stands for Investigational New Drug. So that is...
if you get an award from...
So that is right, something that is needed within the biotech and pharma world for the companies to start clinical stage development of the programs. So a big part of the role has to do with knowing the science, the people skills, connecting the dots, and sort of facilitating all the programs through all of the different milestones. So you generally sort of provide support and your operational knowledge to all of the different teams. Thanks.
Thank you. I think we got a glimpse of what project management means in industry. Stephanie, would you like to go next?
Sure thing. So I'll also thank the organizers again for having me here. I'll point out that I'm originally from New York City, Queens, by the way. And actually got my undergrad degree at Wesleyan University, that's in Middletown, Connecticut. And that was in biology and neuroscience. And pointing out that I'm from New York, before I went on to graduate school, I actually was running a small analytical facility at Albert Einstein for a few years. And that convinced me that I really wanted to go to graduate school. And I was in the biochemistry department there. So I ended up going to UNC Chapel Hill, and I got a PhD in biochemistry and biophysics with a focus more on chromatin biochemistry, specifically histone modifying enzymes. And that was exactly 5 years of graduate work. And then I went on to do my postdoc at the NIH, another 5 years. That was within the National Cancer Institute. And I was focusing more on chromatin remodeling. So I'll point out that when you're at the NIH and on the main campus especially, you are one of about 4,000 postdocs if you're doing a postdoctoral fellowship there. And so there are a lot of opportunities to do things outside of the bench during your copious amounts of free time. There's no free time. So really an opportunity to learn how to manage things. But also another thing about being on the main NIH campus is that you're not so far removed from science administration. So my role is a program director. If you were to look this up in terms of job postings, it would be also called a health scientist administrator, and that's split up into 2 roles at the NIH. Those that are program directors, we manage research programs, we advise applicants about their research, we monitor progress. And then the other role is as a scientific review officer. So that's someone that will organize review meetings. So basically what we have are applications that come in and are peer reviewed. And a big part of my job is to advise applicants and to also be a steward of federal funds. So I do a lot of talking to applicants about their research. I also develop research programs, so assessing the state of the field and seeing where we need to address gaps, if there are gaps that need to be filled, and developing funding opportunity announcements, talking to people throughout that stage of putting together applications after their review meetings, and then also managing research programs. So I'll point out that what people mostly hear about, especially when you're in the lab, are about investigator-initiated research, R01s, but we have and we support a wide range of funding mechanisms that go from R21s, R01s to awards that are highly managed and can be a part of larger consortia. So I'm doing a lot of consortia work now, as well as interacting with those that are putting in R01 applications. And I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. We learned a lot, I guess. We will learn more from you today. So Shaila, you want to say something about yourself? I think you are muted.
I feel like that is just the the sentence of the year in terms of always saying, "Oh, I think you're muted." So I apologize. My name is Shayla Shorter. I too am from New York. I was born here in New York, born and raised in New York. My parents are from Jamaica. I went to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County for my bachelor's degree in biology. I went on to Emory University for my Ph.D. in immunology and molecular pathogenesis. I did a 3-year postdoc, which was unique. I was during my graduate period, I was very interested in teaching and mentoring. And so my postdoc was actually a fellowship that was sponsored by the NIH. It's called the ARACTA program. And essentially it is a program that funds postdocs who are interested in both teaching and research. And so part of my postdoc was centered in a lab. So I was focused on autoimmunity, specifically profiling B-cell responses in pediatric lupus patients. And the second part of my postdoc was more biology education research. So I was studying how students in STEM respond to failure and how you can help students to develop a more resilient mindset in STEM research. And so with all of that, I was on the track to just go into academic teaching, because by that point, though I loved science, I had really fallen in love with being in the classroom, inspiring and motivating students to pursue careers in STEM, because I recognized there was such a need, and specifically for students of all backgrounds to enter STEM. And so I really wanted to be a part of the push to encourage those types of students. Interestingly enough, an opportunity came up for me to work at the organization that I am at now, which is the Lupus Research Alliance. It's the largest private funder of lupus research in the world. And essentially we serve as basically a liaison and hub. So we interact, or we engage with pharma, with the government and other constituents to really advance the mission of developing new and effective therapeutics for lupus patients. And so there I am a scientific program manager. And I think, as you'll see, the term scientific program manager or project manager is very different across, different institutions. In my role, I'm responsible for running our many, I guess you could call them review processes for different mechanisms. So we offer in any one year between 5 and 7 grant programs. And so I run those programs from, setting up the RFA, recruiting review committees, making sure everything goes, and pretty much until the point of activation of the award. I also run a couple of other programs centered around encouraging students from underrepresented backgrounds to enter science and specifically do lupus research. So if you have any questions about any of those varied areas, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Shaila. I'm pretty sure we'll have more questions regarding this. And maybe Federica, you can.
Yes, thank you everyone for organizing this amazing event. So I remember at my time when I was finishing my postdoc, I was attending all of these events, and they are really useful because you know new people and you connect with new people. So thank you very much for organizing. So my name is Federica. Everyone knows me as Fede, my nickname, and I'm from Italy. I did my PhD in Pavia. I studied biology. Then I moved to the Netherlands for my PhD in neuroscience, and I was focusing on mitochondrial disease. And after that, the normal path is the postdoc. The usual path is the postdoc. So I decided to join a group at Weill Cornell Medical College here in New York. And I did a very long postdoc. Yeah, I was a postdoc for 5 years. I had a lot of fun doing research, and was a great experience. But then, towards the end of my postdoc, I was like, I don't really know exactly what to do. I don't know if to go to industry. I was lost. I was totally lost. Normally, I always consider myself someone that knows what I want, but I was totally lost. So I think it's the same situation for many people here in the call, right? And so during my postdoc, I started a foundation in Italy for pancreatic cancer, and in name of my mother that passed away for this disease. And, I built this foundation from scratch. You had to interact with stakeholders, with doctors, with scientists. So actually this experience told me that, teach me that I really would like to do something attached to science, but more like at the management side. And also I really like to talk with scientists and learn what they are doing and what is the future of the research. So that was the moment when I realized that probably a project management kind of work was something for me. Therefore, I joined the Last Garden Foundation. It's a foundation here in New York, the biggest foundation in US, well, in the world, I think, for pancreatic cancer research. And I was a research project manager, like the other panelists that were just saying. So I was managing the portfolio of grants. And so I stayed there for 2.5 years. But then I realized that I was missing the science, like the lab, the attachment with the lab and with these all international people I work with for many years. So then I started to check on project management position within the university. And I was lucky enough to find this position as immunotherapy project manager. We did the tech transfer office at MSK. So as you might know, nowadays, a lot of industry partners, pharmaceutical companies are investing in the labs, in academic institution. Instead of doing the work, the preclinical work on their lab, they use the academic center because they are more knowledgeable. And so this my position at the moment is really unique because I work for MSK, but I actually work for a pharmaceutical company that are investing in the labs. So my major duty is to manage the research from the bench to the clinic. So I follow the experiment from the cells to the mice until the drugs get into the humans, right? And I work on CAR T cells technology, as you might know, is a really exciting, exploding field in cancer. And having the opportunity to work at the tech transfer office, I can touch base also with other aspect of the technology transfer. That means IP filing, so intellectual properties, agreements. So I work a lot with lawyers as well, and I work with FDA for the submission of the IND when the product is gonna go to clinic. So I'm actually very happy about this because I have a specific project that is on CAR T cells and a specific lab I work with, but then I have a big picture of the medical field, in the sense how drugs get into the market at the end. So I have to say I'm very lucky to have this opportunity to join this team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think now we all have an idea how big the umbrella of project management or program management is. With that, I would pass the mic to Zafar, to our other moderator, for the next question.
Thank you, Rinki. Thank you so much for giving the introduction and your transition path from your bench research to your current role. My question is, what are the most critical skill set in your current role, and what advice would you like to give us upcoming scientists who want to pursue your career role or your current role? Thank you. We can go in the same order if you like.
Yes, hi, sure. Yeah, I can start with this. I want to be short in the interest of time, but I think if I had to pick two of the most important skills, I think the scientific training and the scientific skills and mindset is very important. I mean, in my day-to-day, I work with a lot of scientists, right? And they are specialists within the specific area, right? But then you have the training, right? So you can sort of understand the language, you can understand the rationale of what is being done, right? The meetings that I usually lead are very data-driven, right? So it's very important to sort of understand the big picture, right? Even if you might not, you are no longer in the role of designing the experiments and thinking in like very, very detailed way about the experiments, but you still need to have an understanding of the science, right? The reasons these experiments are being done, what else do we need to do to move the project like from stage A to stage B. So I think that is one. The second one is interpersonal skills, ability to build relationship with others. I think this is very crucial. You work with diverse, people in terms of backgrounds, in terms of trainings, in terms of cultures. So it's very important to sort of be able to adapt and within these meetings, bring everyone, on consensus, right? So folks know like where are we going, what is the goals, so on and so forth. So I think those are the two main things, right? You gotta need to like the science, but also you gotta need to like interacting with people. So I'll stop it at that and let others add.
Sure, I'll go next, and I'll know that there's some questions that are coming in through the chat as well. So definitely science, knowing your science is key. The ability to think critically and the ability to learn. So I've been a program director for the past 9 years now, and I actually started off in cancer nanotechnology, which is not what I got a degree in or a certificate in, which is sort of what a lot of programs are doing now. But my touchstone was my background with nucleic acids. So I did a lot of things related to nucleic acid-based therapeutics. And really finding cancer nanotechnology-based treatments. And I've gone on to do things that are now back in more the genomic science realm, more basic, which is more along the lines of what I'm doing at the Human Genome Research Institute. So I think knowing your science and being able to learn and adapt is going to be very important. Communication skills, not only being able to present information, but also being able to write well, and being highly organized. So there's this management aspect. You do not necessarily have to have a project management certification. These are things that you have picked up while in graduate school, while postdocing. These are some of these transferable skills. So I'll stop there, and I know some others have some things to pass on as well.
I co-sign everything that's been said. I think one thing about this kind of area of being a program manager / project manager is you take all the skills that you acquired throughout your PhD and or a postdoc, and you just use it in really versatile ways, right? So we all go through the process of the PhD, and sometimes you think, you know, you only have this expertise in this one area, when in fact you've acquired so many skills in terms of communication and multitasking and troubleshooting, and those can be applied in many different ways. What I'll say is, for me, I think one of the, at least in my realm, I work at a health-focused agency. And so what that means is in my job, I actually interface regularly with both scientific professionals, so whether it be in academic science, pharma, or government, but I also interact with patients that are living with the disease that we support, and other kind of donors and constituents. And what's been really unique about my experience and my background is because I have had experience in teaching and education, I've gotten a lot of experience in learning how to take complex scientific concepts and distill them down to kind of a level that is accessible to anyone that I'm speaking to. So whether I'm speaking to the mother of a child that has lupus, or I'm speaking to one of the top lupus researchers in the world, right? There's a way that you can kind of adjust your language to speak to all different levels of scientific literacy. So I think for me, I would definitely say learn to have that versatility in being able to speak about science, because if you can do that, you make it accessible to many, many people.
Yes, I can just confirm what everyone has said right now. Just to connect with Sheila comments, communication is really important because, you know, we are used to talk with the labs people, and it's always like a friendly and nice environment. And then at some point you have to interact with the chief of the department, and, you know, this big professor or this big doctor. So you have to, you know, to adapt your communication, and you also have to be ready to have also not nice people to interact with, like not friendly. So communication, I think, is really important, and of course organization and details oriented is another part. But I think there's nothing more difficult than your project in the lab, right? So what is more difficult than you know, this trying to understand what a protein does in the cells or a mutation does in a patient? So I really think that through your experience, you have all the skills that you need to jump in a project management job.
Thank you everyone for giving us the advice. I will pass mic to Rinki, who can ask more questions, and we are getting a lot of questions from attendees. So Rinki.
Yeah. So I would like to ask you guys, like, what are the growth possibilities and future perspective in your field? And Linda?
I can start. I think there are many. I started the role about a year and a half ago, and I mean, through this time, I have realized that there is opportunities, right, to grow and transition. For once, right, you can move within the group that you are in and get promoted. You have more responsibilities. You have a team that you manage. You work with folks more higher up in the company, right? You are tasked with, various initiatives, but it's, everything is gradual. You have to demonstrate that you are learning, and it is quite a lot, right? As you are embarking in an industry role from academia, there is a lot to learn, right? You learn about the whole system, so it takes some time, but there is always a lot to learn, right? So that's a good thing, but you can sort of move within the group. The other thing that I have seen and have observed is folks can move in project management, but within other groups and delivering, right, with different deliverables, right? Some folks have maybe transitioned into clinical development, right? So they are no longer overseeing that research to IND stage, right? They oversee stages beyond that, so the clinical trials, so on and so forth. The other thing is you can also transition maybe into other companies, or because you have a good understanding of the early stages of preclinical development, maybe you can also transition into a smaller startup. So you could, specialize. You can learn, specialize, transition into other teams, sort of doing similar project management roles, assuming you like, right, project management, and if people realize maybe that's not their cup of tea, I don't think there isn't ways to transition, right? To do something different where you are a little bit more specialized, right? So with project management, you know a little bit about a lot of things, but if you are the type of person that realizes, okay, I want to maybe specialize into something specific, then I think there is ways to do that. I would say the only thing that might be hard to do is if you realize that, let's say I finished my PhD, right? And I realize, oh, maybe I want to go back into the science, right? Maybe I want to have my own lab, or I want to have my own group within industry, right? If that's the case, I'm not sure, right? I can make that transition right away. I think maybe I would need to go to do a postdoc or get some other, further scientific training. So I think that's maybe the only thing that maybe it's not as easy to do in terms of moving up, but you can always, right, move, transition, or, and make decisions based on what your interests are.
Stephanie, you want to?
Sure. So I would say at the NIH, in terms of your starting point, you would have to at least have done a postdoc. We have program directors that come in after a postdoc. We have program directors that are transitioning from having faculty positions in academia. Some have come from industry. So we have a wide range of people that are serving as program directors at the NIH. We work on a grade scale. So with increasing experience, be it how you come in, or just through time and gaining that experience, you have the potential to be promoted on that scale. It will depend on what your interests are and what you're interested in doing. So we have both supervisory and non-supervisory positions, which you can be on either track, transition to supervisory track, and be promoted. I'd say that some of the growth potentials are a lot of people are leading programs. So that's part of what I do. I'm launching a program this spring, and that's been a really great experience. We also have people that have transitioned into supervisory roles. So they might be chief of a branch of other program directors. They might be deputy director of a division, usually a division. And I say that once you have experience at the NIH, if you wanted to lead, some positions that people will look for are director of research at an academic institution. They might go to industry as well. So I think it depends on what your interests are. There are definitely opportunities to grow. And I think that's a big part of what they emphasize here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Shaila?
I actually don't really have much to add beyond what has already been said. I think there are a lot of opportunities. The only thing that would, I think, be difficult is what Linda said about if you wanted to transition back into bench research. I think that would, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I think it would be difficult. But I will say, to someone's point, you do still engage with the science, right? Like, as part of my job, and I'm sure the other panelists, you do have to stay up to date with the science. But I think the way in which research works, people want you to be up to date with your physical on the technical skills, and which can, I don't know, maybe wane if you stay away from the bench too long. So yeah, I don't have anything else much to add.
Yeah, for me, okay, I have to say there's different opportunity. As Linda was saying before, of course, you can become like project lead and, you know, grow on your role. But being part of the tech transfer office, you can also become a license manager. That means when a scientist in the lab discovers something that can be potential treatment for a disease. So then the role of the license manager is that to put together these scientists with the pharmaceutical company, and then, you know, license the product to this pharmaceutical company that will accelerate the development of the drug and the clinical trial. The other part is business development. So there's people in the lab, in the office, that they are more business oriented. So, you know, at the end, you know, it's sad to say, but the university has to make money out of these products, right? So there's a Ph.D. that are more into the business, and they are more in finance oriented. Or, you know, you can also, if you like, for example, the regulatory IND field, there's so many aspects of that. For example, the pharmacology, the safety, so there's different roles, different things that you can do as a part of the tech transfer office of the university. So I can see there's, you know, I still have to find out what I want to do next, but I have to say there's a lot of opportunity.
Thank you so much, Federica. Now we can see we have a lot of questions from our participants. So I would like to start with participant questions. So one of the participants asked, like, a lot of project management job posting requests pre-existing project management experience or certification. If you guys could give any advice regarding that, that will be great.
I can speak to that. I think, so I didn't have any formal certificate before I applied for the position. I think it doesn't hurt. It could show that you have an interest, right? You made the effort to invest in yourself and look and learn more. I think it's great. Like, it's great to see that in a resume, but I don't think it's necessary. However, I did get involved with a lot of activities during my PhD training that sort of gave me a sense of what the job would be like. I didn't realize that at the time. I only realized that after I got the job. So I was part of INet as well. I was an institutional representative, and then I was outreach coordinator, and I was co-president. So I was with the group for a very long time, and I sort of evolved in my roles and the responsibilities. And I loved it. I was working with all this, international group of people. We were thinking about cool events and figuring out how we're going to put it together. We had no budget, so we still managed to do it. So I got a sense about the job then, and that is one thing that I highlighted in my interview. Actually, my interview was a scientific talk, but I added a little bit of the things that I had done that made me realize, right, that I want to do this as a next step, project management. And that there was some of the things that I highlighted, right. I got a sense of what the job would be like, right? Organizing, talking with others, figuring out the path, right, from first step to the last step, pulling in everyone, motivating others to be able to do it. I'll stop at that and let others add more.
Yeah, I have to say that I didn't do any training before or any course, anything. One option could be maybe to spend some time like as an intern or at the tech transfer office in my situation. But you learn while you are doing these things, and it's really not necessary to have a certificate.
And I'll also add, because I saw this question, when I was looking for these types of positions, I actually saw positions that did not require a postdoc, positions that even didn't require a PhD to do the job. And this all depends on what type of institution you're going to and what level of expertise they require. So, for the initial question, I did not have any specific certifications, but what I did, and I think, we should all do when we're applying to jobs is, I made it clear in my cover letter how my experience matched up with what they were looking for. So I could say something to the effect of, they wanted someone who they didn't necessarily had experience, but part of the job was kind of interfacing with different stakeholders and that sort of thing. And so I talked about my experience working on a college campus and organizing student programming, right? And kind of so really what you do, I think it's, having the certification or having the experience, yes, it can bolster you on paper, but I think, if you don't have that, sell yourself, right? Like, I promise you, as PhDs, you have so much more than you think you do. And it's just about seeing what they want and showing them that you are exactly what they want.
I don't think I have much to add to that. That's exactly what it is. So sit down and think about what you've done. So I did a few things away from the bench, running an editorials board and doing a chromatin series. But I thought about also what I did at the bench. And I put down something like, well, they want me to be able to interact with all different types of people. I interacted with an antibody company to make a couple of antibodies. And we had to talk about timelines and what's our testing schedule, and also working with just the budget for doing the things that we're doing. If you have any fellowships, you're budgeting for that as well. You're showing that you have writing experience and you're able to communicate your research. There's so many things that you're doing right now that can be valuable when you're thinking about a career in project or program management.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we have got a really nice, interesting question that how do you manage or adjust with scientific project, which you are really not trained for? I'm sure you guys have experienced that.
Yes, I can start with that. So when I transitioned at Regeneron, right, I am sort of the bridge between two different teams for a lot of my projects. Is the teams that do a lot of antibody work, right, trying to get the best antibody, and then a lot of the teams that do all the in vivo animal works, right. So, and that was within the immunology field. I don't have a background in antibodies, and I don't have a background in immunology, right. So everything within the science was new, right. How did I gain that? I really didn't have a lot of time to download papers and read about the field. You sort of start picking them up. No one expects you to know everything at day one. It's a gradual process. They hire you because, not because you know everything, is because you can be a good fit, you can learn, right? You show that you have the ability to learn. So you just start picking it up, whether it's from meetings, whether it is from asking questions. I think a lot of it has to do, and it's very similar skills that you have developed while doing the PhD, right? It's very overwhelming sometimes, right? There's a lot of things you don't know. So you can't just stay in the corner, right, and expect that that answer will come to you. You have to be very proactive, right? Figure out what is it that you don't know, right? Reach out to people that might help you with it. People are very willing to help, bridge those gaps, but you need to take the initiative. So I think for me, that's what helped. Talking with others, right? If there is folks that may be onboarded within the last year, they went through the same process, I'll go reach out to them, like sort of learn best practice. If there is a scientist, right, that is an expert in a specific technique or something that I don't really understand and I want to know more about, I reach out to them and have a quick chat. Or you just read, right? You can also read. But I think you need to combine all of this, because you don't really have time to like sit down and like do all this reading. You are handling a lot of different projects. You cannot do that for everything.
Yes, Linda, I kind of agree with you. For me, coming from a neuroscience background and jumping into cancer immunology was a big step, right? But I had the feeling that, at the beginning I was reading like crazy and I was pretending to know everything. But again, you learn as you do things. And it's like when you start a new project in the lab, right? So it takes some time to get 100% into the project, but with the help of other people, with a little bit of reading and a lot of talking with others, it's kind of fast, the learning process.
I would say that what I know how to do best is research. So that's really what it is. I did not have a background in cancer nanotechnology, and because of the nature of that job, I had a chance to read a lot and really immerse myself in that. And a lot of the things we did in that particular office, I've moved 3 times within the NIH, is we would talk to people about nanotechnology policy. So you sort of were really in it, and we write reviews and such. Where I am right now at the Genome Institute, things are moving extremely fast. And I think what everyone has said so far, it's so important to use a combination of things. Reading when you can. You read a lot of applications. I read a lot of applications, and that helps me a great deal. Talking to investigators, going to meetings. I love a good 2-day meeting when all I have to do is be in the meeting, because a lot of time is meeting with people and it's just Zoom calls all day long. So your time is really, it's difficult to do all the things you need to do. So you really have to rely on the different ways to get information.
So I have a question for Shaila, but I would like to ask everyone that same question, is like, what was your favorite part of being project manager, and what was the least favorite part? Like, what part of your job you really don't like?
So that's a really good question. So I'll say first that I actually like a lot of different aspects of my job, and specifically I think I've always considered myself a very creative person, and in my particular role, I like the fact that I'm able to use my knowledge in very different ways than what I thought I'd be using them for. So as I explained, I engage with a lot of different people for many different reasons. So if I'm speaking to a potential donor versus one of our investigators that is trying to, work out like their intellectual property policy and negotiating things with them, or signing an NDA with pharma and discussing with them some aspects of new research that they're working on. So I love I really love being able to be in different settings and scenarios, and kind of just using a number of different skills. So that's probably my favorite part. Like, there's just a lot of different things to do. What is my least favorite part? That is actually kind of a hard question. I think there's some days that I miss doing things that didn't require sitting at a computer screen. I can promise you, my first maybe 2 months, I felt like my eyes were like burning. Because although I did use, I used my computer for data analysis and that sort of thing and writing during my PhD and postdoc, I also stepped away. I had my pipette. I was, doing different things, right? So there's like, you get up, you move around. And I think the first 2 months, I couldn't believe just how much I just sat all day and just stared at a computer screen. So that took some getting used to. And honestly, that's probably the only thing that I dislike. I wish that I didn't have to stare at a screen as much. But then again, everyone's staring at a screen now in this world. So, hey.
Okay. So anyone else want to talk about their least favorite thing? And
I can add to that. I think, all jobs have the things you really love about them and the things you love less. I love being able to have this exposure to all the different programs. I thought during my PhD training, I was a little focused, right, on this specific project, and I kind of never saw the end of it. I'm like really happy that now I can get exposure to all these different programs, and you see the forest, right? You see the big picture, and I really like that. Maybe the things that I dislike the most, I think, so the job is you have to know the big picture, but you also have to be good at like diving into the details, right? And troubleshooting and figuring things out. So sometimes it can get very tedious. Sometimes you need to track, right, very specific elements that are needed for a project to go from stage A to stage B. So for me, like maybe that's like the least favorite part of the job, because it requires a lot of like, manually like checking things. But it's part of the job, and it's understanding and learning those things is also very important in how you help your teams, right? So yeah.
Thank you so much. We are very close to the end. If our panelists are okay, we have many questions from the participants. Can I ask one more question from the from the participants?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so as a project management manager, maybe you work with a lot of potential entrepreneurs. Then do you have any say in the development of a product or a service? Maybe Linda, you or Federica?
So I think that really depends on the roles. You can, for me personally, I don't work with entrepreneurs or like startups. There are other project managers within Regeneron that have more of a, out of the company facing role, right, that deal with maybe other companies, right, other collaborators. My role is not that. So I cannot answer that question. I think you do have influence, right, in the sense that you know the company, right? You know the strengths of the company, and you also need to figure out, what the collaborator or the outside parties is bringing in. So the understanding of that, I think, is very, you need to also frame these needs to the scientific teams, right? And the leads that are going to make the decisions. So I don't think you have, depending on the level, right? At my level, you don't have the decision-making role, but you have the influential role, right? You have an opinion and you can speak up about like how you think about these things, right? And how you frame them. So unfortunately, I don't have like direct experience with that. So with, outside companies, and I cannot speak to it, but this is sort of my understanding right now.
Yeah, and maybe I can add, I have the opportunity to work with these people because, from the lab, there's startups coming out, and especially from these CAR T cells program that are now, everyone is doing CAR T cells. They're spin-off of the lab, and, they found partner, and now, for example, we are working in a new startup, so they just hired the CEO, they just hired the CSO, so you really see from when everything started, right? And so it's really interesting to see and to interact with these people, that they have big minds, but also they are very brave to start such an adventure, right? So yeah, it's a good opportunity to interact also with the entrepreneurship.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to thank all our panelists, and we are so happy to see the questions from the panel, from the participants. Like this motivates us to run more events like this. And with that, I will pass the mic to Martha, who will close this event today.
Thank you, Rinki. And thank you so much to all the attendees. We really got a lot of questions. We are a bit sorry we couldn't really reply to all of them. But I just want to thank a lot the panelists, because they were also, in the meantime, talking and also trying to answer some questions in the chat. So you really did a great job. Thanks a lot. And thank you for your, availability, for all your advices. And we really appreciated that a lot. So with that, I just would like to close the event, and thank you again for your participation, and we really hope to see you to the next events. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.